Oh boy, here we go again. Darrelle Revis is in another social media beef. That's why I understand why my guest isn't on social media. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your gosh darn podcast. And if you have no idea, and I saw a few comments, what beef? What happened? Well, we'll unpack it for you here on the program. But before we get into all that, Jess, let's bring in our special guest. It's time for a discount double check. Apparently, he liked the ride the first time, and he's hopping back in El Coche. Let's bring him in. It's DKB talking all things Jets. What's up, brother?
What's going on, boss? How you doing?
I'm doing good. And let me give you a heads up that the good word on social media is not. I understand why you're not on social media now. After seeing the latest hoopla, it makes sense. Yeah,
it's the off season. What are you going to do? People are bored. Twitter fingers are active.
That's for sure. Well, thank you for the content, I guess, Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie. So let's get right into it, folks. In case you missed it, last night, some random shots. You may have just been hopping in the Twitter streets. You hear bang, bang. You're looking around. Whoa, what the hell's going on out here? Well, Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie got into another beef, and I'll give you guys the tweets first that were exchanged between the two parties. Antonio Cromartie ended up deleting this one, but it's all centered around we have one person to blame. That is Jake Assman, apparently, who is stoking all of these flames in the universe because he has been the center of all of them. Again, Cromartie, in a since-deleted tweet, said this last night, quote, so now I'm getting attacked by this lame dude, Revis24, tagging him, for doing an interview with @Jake Assman. There you go. That's good for business, Jake. And I talked great about him. Now I'm jealous and a lame? Dude, how am I jealous? Bruh, you have your gold jacket off 3.5 years of great play. The other 6, shoulder shrug emoji. New York media, Rex Ryan, DTs, referencing Dennis Thurman, the former DB coach and defensive coordinator, they made you. And all of a sudden it got spicy from there. Revis going back and highlighting a clip from that 2011 Dallas Cowboys-Jets game where it said, your assignment was Dez Bryant. My assignment was Miles Austin. Dez scored on you. Rex and DT came to me and said you can't cover, so they told me to switch on Dez. I never studied Dez. You did. Look what happened. I guess New York media, Rex and DT made me do someone else's job. And it just started getting intense from there. And I'm like, what the hell? Where did all this come from? And it's, like I said, it's all Jake Assman's fault here, DKB, because, you know, Cromartie's back in the news because he gets hired as a coaching intern for the New York Jets, which, by the way, quick detour. Before we go down this long, winding road of throwing things at each other, Antonio Cromartie being back, what's your thoughts on that, DKB?
Yeah, it was interesting. If there was any former player that was going to jump on, I really thought it was going to be Nick Mangold. We've seen him around the facility. We just seen him with Joe Tippmann giving him pointers during OTAs. And he seemed like he's been more, I guess, maybe more socially active about it. I wasn't even aware Antonio Cromartie was coaching. I think he's coming off of coaching a high school in Texas or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it can't hurt, right? Having that former player touch is always a huge bonus. I think that's what we really like about, you know, the Jeff Ulbrich experience, if you will. Even a guy like Robert Saleh, who, you know, I think stopped collegiately. So it can't hurt having a guy that was near the top of the position during the time he was in the league. we'll see what he brings. I'm not sure what this Bill Walsh internship necessarily consists of and how active he'll end up being, but on paper, I love it.
Yeah, and it's basically just a path for these former players to get an opportunity to coach, and then you see what happens from there. Sometimes you get a couple of these multiple internship programs. They see a little something. All of a sudden, you get hired on like Leon Washington as an assistant to the assistant regional manager, and then from there, you kind of work your way all the way up. So, anywho, Cromartie's back in the news. Now, Jake Asman did an interview with Antonio Cromartie way back in January, like 5 months ago. But because Cromartie was back in the news, he said, "Oh, let me stoke some flames on that interview. Let me reshare it." Again, nothing controversial. Well, we'll hear in a second. You tell me, DKB, if you hear anything controversial in this answer that apparently pissed Revis off, which started all of this. But Jake Asman doing a very smart thing that content creators should do. Cromartie's back in the news. I interviewed Cromartie 5 months ago. Here's a couple of clips that he said before, and hopefully more people click on the interview. So here is apparently, I spoke with Jake Asman yesterday to try to get to the bottom of this. There is a 22-second clip here that Jake Asman shared where Cromartie spoke on Darrelle Revis, what made him special and a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Here's the clip, everybody, and apparently this is what angered Darrelle Revis. Watch, listen in.
I always tell anybody, if you can find a DB with patience, you got something, and that's the thing. He never went for the first move, stayed patient because he understood by just from watching film what kind of release they were trying to go, what kind of release they was going to give him. So he was able to get hands on and could play off coverage, could play any coverage that you needed him to play because he was just that good. And that's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
What was said that I don't understand? Versatile, could play anywhere, the best. Again, give me your analysis. Did I miss something there? Was there some insult that I missed that was kind of snuck in there? What? Huh?
Yeah, Revis has been interesting because I know he's gotten into it with a number of people, and on the surface, it never seems like it's a big deal. When I think back to him, I think back to our time, like contract disputes and stuff like that. He seems like he's a very prideful guy that kind of lives with his emotions on the surface, right? So anytime that you aren't referring to him in this realm of, elitism, it seems like it can get under his skin, which is odd because you think that would, be the same case on the field where people are, drawing off left and right. But in these situations, anytime another player, especially at his position, is talking about it, and it doesn't feel like they're putting him in his own category as arguably the best man coverage defender in the NFL, it seems like a problem, right? And maybe it's not fully just from that clip. I think you mentioned there was another piece about release packages and stuff like that. And it was interesting because I just seen somebody else breaking down a lot of the old cornerbacks that we loved coming up. The Normans, the Revises of the world that were elite man guys. And they were saying the league is so different now with, the Garrett Wilsons of the world coming in that he'd probably be obsolete, right? He'd be a guy that maybe isn't looked at as, a Jerry Rice level type guy in this world's version of wide receivers. So I think it's just one of those ticky-tacky but kind of like touchy things where Revis just wants to be known that, he's earned his Revis Island moniker. He wants to be talked about in an elite air. And anything that sounds kind of, average to above average or, somewhere below that is going to be something that kind of triggers him, especially with the vast decline in his career. And we've already heard some of the comments about him playing the style of defense he was playing for so long, attributed to him only playing, 8 or 9 seasons, whatever it ended up being.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, and maybe that's what made him special. This weird, I don't know if I want to call it insecurity, but he wanted to prepare and do so much that any of the criticism or noise he used as this chip on his shoulder to take him to another level. And obviously that worked out, resulted in a Hall of Fame career, but maybe there's just no way to turn that off post-career after the fact when conversations are being had, because as you mentioned, this ain't the first time that Revis has gotten into a squabble with what appeared to be a compliment. So once again, Jake Asman, that bastard, he is once again at the center of all this because it must be a summertime thing for Revis. Maybe he's coming out of some level of hibernation. Around here, it's around the July 4th. Again, it was yesterday, July 6th. But last June, Joe Klecko, Pro Football Hall of Famer, did an interview with Jake Asman, and we have that clip too. And he was just singing the sweet praises. This is awesome. We're both going in together. Beautiful. Well, here's Jake Asman and Joe Klecko, the one that Revis got upset with. What the?
Looking at the history of the Jets, right? You could make a case. The two greatest players that have ever played defense for this franchise, you and Darrelle Revis, are fittingly going in to the Hall of Fame together. The best player my dad ever watched was you, and the best player I've seen in my lifetime watching the Jets was Darrelle Revis, without a doubt. Does it add to it that it's basically going to be a giant Jet fan party celebrating you and Darrelle this summer? Like, how exciting is it for you to go in with Darrelle when you guys get that opportunity to be a part of it together this summer?
Well, I said to him, when we were out at the Super Bowl, and I said to him, I goes, this is going to be New York West for a day. You know what I mean? And we got to sit down after, and Darrelle doesn't say a whole lot, but the one thing, first comment we had, we were doing Sirius Radio, and he said, it's really cool that Joe and I, who are the two best defensive players ever to play for the Jets, are coming in together. And I was I didn't know his mindset about us. And he didn't know much about me because it was been so long ago. I mean, I played when they didn't have face masks, so but it's cool. I mean, for him and I both, we've talked about it a little bit, and about what football has meant to either of us, and getting in the Hall of Fame, and it's really going to be cool, like you said. A lot of people haven't really mentioned that as far as the two best defensive players ever. And to say that, it's pretty good comment, and it's going to go a long way, I hope.
And DKP, you're not on social media, and God bless you, sir. But I will tell you, one of the shticks that I do on Twitter is if I hear something, so I shared that clip to Twitter, and we'll show what happened after the fact. But I sometimes share clips, and I think I know what's going to happen. Like DKP, if you're on another Jet show and you're like, that boy Green is such a dick. I hate that guy. And I'm like, oh, he said what? And I tweet out the clip. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. And then everyone's like, yeah. Either they agree, yeah, he is a dick or whatever. And then I'm like, I have a sense of what's happening. When I shared that clip, every once in a while I throw a softball out to the universe, say, you know what? We're all just lovey-dovey. This is the honeymoon phase. We're all just, look, Joe Klecko apparently just said a lot of wonderful things about Darrelle Revis. Let's all celebrate. Let's all get together. I thought that was just a hunky-dory tweet. What we had there, and here were the tweet responses. I'll show you guys the screenshots to that tweet, that clip you just watched from Darrelle Revis last year. He said, quote, I don't speak to people I don't know very well. We did not speak based on you saying you were jealous of my success at the Super Bowl. My mindset is clearly I'm at the top of that list as the best ever. But as a gentleman, I declined to say something cool for a headline. By the way, what a dick. Unbelievable. You couldn't just let that lie. You said, hey, I just want to make it clear. The conversation I had with him, yeah, we may be the best too, but I'm number one. Well, like, I don't understand the path to say that. And then here is the other one when people like said, Revis, can you walk this back? You guys are both going to the Hall of Fame. Like, we don't need to be arguing. He goes, I ain't walking shit back. I said what I said. It's true what I said, but also true that I'm the best defensive player in Jets history, period. I don't even know why it's a conversation. Good Lord have mercy. Maybe it just goes back to what you said, DKB, that again, that's just what drives this crazy bastard.
Yeah, it's when you look at somebody that, and this transcends the NFL, right? Just anybody at the top of essentially their league, and Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg, or Darrelle Revis, right? Obviously, vastly different categories. So, just stick with me here, guys. But when you look at some of those mindsets, obviously there's something that really just ticks different for them. This isn't the broken clock is correct twice a day type situation. I think he's just a different kind of beast. It's not quite the Mamba mentality, right? But I think if there was an NFL's version of that, it would be this. And if anything, there's just, kind of knowing the Pittsburgh background and stuff.
Yes.
East Coast, it's just a bit of a different mentality. you worry about people trying to get over on you with sly comments and like different things of that nature. So for Revis, he's always been a guy that wanted to set the tone right. I've earned every contract. Here's the numbers, and so forth and so on. I just think there's a bit of social tact that he doesn't really have, and his preference is whenever I need to set the record straight, I'm going to let you know I'm the best that ever did it, and it is what it is.
Let me ask you this one. So this was funny. So you guys think that that's the beef, right? It's the deleted Cromartie tweet Revis. Oh no, it went to another level. And by the way, if you're trying to keep up with all this, I tried late last night. I'm like, let me try to put an article so people could try to understand, because some tweets were deleted, some weren't. So there's an article in the YouTube description down below to try to keep track of all of this. They also fought again, Cromartie and Revis 4 years ago on social media. So I have some of that in there too. But Cromartie started, like, Revis took shots at him. Revis, in a lot of this Twitter back and forth, said the reason why, like, a part of the reason I was Revis Island is because I had to overcompensate for your ass because of your coverage liability. So I had to hold the whole defense on my back. And Crow started getting offended. He's a professional and a former All-Pro and Pro Bowler and all that. He brought up this. You guys might remember the play. I can't show the play because I don't have the rights, but he shared the clip from the Jets-Patriots game from a decade ago where, you guys may remember this, Randy Moss beats Darrelle Revis and catches a one-handed pass in the back of the end zone. And Revis, after he's beat and you see him catch a touchdown, Revis reaches for his hammy. Now, pause time real quick. I've always thought in my bones that wasn't real, that Revis, that's the only reason I was beat, clearly, my hamstring. And I saw it live, and that's the first thing I thought of, and I was like, you know what? What a pro. You know what? A virtual handshake, pal. I would have done the same damn thing. Oh, was that a dog barking in the bushes? What was that? Oh, geez, I just got beat by Randy Moss. And by the way, no shame in getting beat by Randy Moss. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So I always thought that in my head. So Cromartie tweets this last night. It's so funny. It made me laugh. He goes, at Revis, never faked it. He's saying he did that. He's talking to Revis. Never faked a hamstring injury. Played through it no matter what happened. Always took responsibility about my play. Never ran from it or pointed pointed fingers my guy. I'm just saying. And he included the clip of Randy Moss beating Revis and then reaching for the hammy. DKB, do you remember that play, and where do you stand? Because apparently some fans are very one side or the other. They said clearly Revis had the injury. This is complete nonsense. And some people on my side, I think Pro's Pro kind of reached for the hammy because he got beat. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I clearly I clearly remember the play. I don't ever remember him reaching for a hammy, though. I just remember flashing back to, like, Rex Ryan looking stunned or something like that. But I don't want to say I'd put it past Revis to do it, right? Because the public image will look bad, especially after, him shutting down the likes of Calvin Johnson and stuff like that. Again, there's no shame. It's Randy Moss. Who hasn't he embarrassed with Tom Brady, right? But that's hilarious.
That is. It's so funny because, like I said, I remember back in the moment, because when it happened, you're like, because like Revis doesn't get beat. Whoa, what's happening? And, like, he does get beat. He's human, but like it doesn't happen very often. So when it happened, I'm like, what? And then I see him at the end of the play. So Randy Moss has already caught the touchdown pass, and then you just see Revis go, and he just reaches for the hamstring, kind of pulls up, but he wasn't pulling up earlier. It was just kind of odd, but again, hilarious from Cromartie. Good clap back, because like Revis gets pretty, like, he gets personal, man, on some of these insults. Like I said, that I overcompensated for your ass sort of thing, and all this other stuff. And apparently 4 years ago, again, this beef, I was trying to find. I'm like, where the hell? This seems kind of random where this came from. 4 years ago, apparently. Richard Sherman and Revis were in their own social media beef. Again, DKB, never go on Twitter. That's where I see people in the comments trying to lure you in. Probably just avoid it. That's for the best for you and your family. But Revis got into a thing with Sherman because Sherman didn't believe. He called Revis like obsolete or something for what he did. How it kind of sort of to what you were saying earlier about the current game and how Revis wouldn't be Revis now with how things are playing out. And and then Revis said, "You're just a zone corner," and then they started going back and forth. Cromartie defended Sherman a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
That came up from like a First Take interview that Sherman did with what's dude's name again?
First Take, Max Kellerman, maybe?
No, not Kellerman. Skip Bayless.
Okay.
He did an interview with Skip Bayless, and I think at one point, once Bayless started losing, he started referencing, well, you're not a Revis. And that went in sidetracked into a whole other thing.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay. And so that happens, right? And then Revis starts responding to Sherman on social media saying, you're just his own corner. And they start going back and forth. Well, Cromartie ends up defending Sherman a little bit, saying, hey, man, we can't really call corners out for what they were asked to do. He wasn't in our scheme, so we didn't see him on islands and things of that nature and staying on one side of the field. And Revis seemed to take it as a personal affront that Cromartie did not back him. And then all of a sudden, Revis started going after Cromartie way back when. That was 4 years ago. And he said this, man, Revis does not play. When he's ready to go after people, he goes after people. This is 4 years ago after that beef. He says, Cromartie, you took a lot of years off my career for helping you out. That's what captains on a team sacrifice for his team. I went to bat for you, my guy. This is sad you jumped ship. And boy, like I said, they just kept going back and forth after each other. But I will say this, hopefully this is true. So after all that hoopla happened, Cromartie, speaking of Skip Bayless, joined him on his then news show, which was Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and him. And he explained that me and Revis have these beefs every once in a while, but basically we're brothers and friends fight. We're close. And that was back then when things are getting nasty. So hopefully that's still the case today. Because I think the moral of the story for all the Jets people that are watching live right now, listening, or after the fact, is that we just don't like seeing two of our greats fighting. Revis, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and Cromartie. A lot of people, I don't know why people are crapping on Cromartie. One of the most athletic corners we've ever had in the history of the game. Everything that he's done, he's a freaking alien specimen. If you could build a corner in the lab, he would probably look a lot like Antonio Cromartie, who is really, really good for the Jets. I don't know if he's ever in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but boy, in terms of like Ring of Honor Jets guys, super productive, really, really good guys. So I just think people don't, Jet fans, speaking for them, I just don't think they like seeing them fight.
Yeah, I mean, Cromartie gives way to Sauce Gardner, right? Because if you look at cornerbacks back then, the prototypical guy was probably in that 5'11" and like 6 foot range, because you didn't expect a tall, lanky guy like Cromartie to be able to hang out there on the edge, especially against what you would have considered shifty guys back then, which is like a Steve Smith Sr., right? That's playing on the boundary. So definitely a lot of respect to Cromartie. I know in the era of a lot of conversations that I've been looped into when it comes to the cornerback position, it ends up becoming less of a who was more impactful situation and more of a, well, who screwed up the most when we look at our cornerbacks, especially on the boundary, right? Because if it's me, I'm looking at the list of guys like Kyle Wilson that we had to blame, and not a Cromartie, for example. But I know he was very boom or bust. He wasn't necessarily a press coverage guy in the way that Revis was. And to be honest, when I look back on it, I think a lot of what Rex Ryan allowed, he was essentially a Pete Carroll for us, right? He allowed a lot of those personalities really shine bright. But there was obviously some favoritism with certain guys. You had a Revis on the defense. You had a guy like Mark Sanchez that he babied on the offense. And, when things aren't clicking the way they need to, you're talking failed championship runs, or I guess I should say failed Super Bowl runs. A lot of that's going to get the better of people.
Which makes a lot of sense. This is just kind of bizarre. Let me ask you, do you have Revis as the number one corner of all time?
Oh yeah, of course he's
okay.
He has to
because
be,
I'm
right?
seeing some people like my father's in here, and he loves stirring the pot, so he loves that. He references Gil Brandt, who's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. God rest his soul. He passed away semi-recently. My father jumps in here and says Revis was a great player, but overestimates his impact on the game. Gil Brandt, who's an NFL legend, of course, of the Dallas Cowboys and others, has him ranked as the 16th best cornerback in NFL history, which is respectable, but not all-time great. To put it in perspective, he would be on the 8th best all-time team. I think that's too aggressive, for sure, to say the least. But there are certain people that are not Revis fans, or that criticism that Cromartie had as a tweet. Maybe he just tried to hurt Revis with his comment saying you had 3.5 great years and all the rest are shoulder shrug emoji.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I know obviously when we got him back on that contract, it wasn't great. I think
It was a really good year, though. 2015, because we just did this random nostalgia fantasy draft. Like 2015, or he was incredibly lucky. Call it what you want. He had a lot of picks, like 5 picks. He had like 4 fumble recoveries. He just had like a lot of splash plays. But to your point, I don't know if he was Revis shut down the field 2009, holding all receivers under 35 yards, but he had a lot of splash in terms of turnovers.
Yeah, no, I remember them playing them completely different, though. I think the turning point was that Bills game where
Sammy
the name
Watkins.
just escaped me, but the sprinter guy like burned him
Sammy
in one
Watkins,
of the
right?
series. Who?
Who are you talking about? Sammy Watkins for the Buffalo Bills?
No, it wasn't the Watkins. The guy is literally just like a guy that's coming off of track and field or something.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to look that up. Let me see.
Yeah, let me find it. I'll have to come back to it.
Okay. All right, that's right. Yeah. So people are saying Stevie Johnson. I don't think that was him, but
No,
interesting.
definitely
Yeah,
not. It's like something with the M, I think.
M. Are you? Oh, no, that's okay. I'll let.
It was like their 4th or 5th best guy, and they just happened to like roll the coverage to Revis, and he gets burned for like 69 yards or something crazy like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange world when you get into social media, right? Number one reason why I try to dodge some of these bullets. But yeah, it is weird seeing some of these legends fight. I just think it's a lull in the NFL and people are bored, right? Because if I'm Antonio Cromartie right now, I just got a new, coaching gig with my, former franchise. I don't know how much time I have to be arguing with the Revis.
Well, I will tell you this. I said it on air before, but after Cromartie got the job, I reached out to Crow because we had some mutual connections. I reached out to Crow and said, congrats on the gig. I said, hey, I do a show every day. Would you like to talk about it? Jet fans are razzed, man. You're back here with the franchise. We freaking love you. And he said he didn't want to put a spotlight on himself. He said, it's not about me. I'm a coach. It's about the players. So I actually don't want to promote this. He's like, thank you for reaching out, but no, I don't want to promote this. And I said, oh, I respect it. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I said it would have been cool to have you and nostalgia and all that stuff, but he's just trying to get ready for this coaching internship, and I don't think he wants it to be like a like a one-off, hey, I'm kissing baby signing autographs. Like, this is something he legitimately seems like he really wants to get into based on his recent history. He's done some stuff with the Florida State program, of course, where he came from. So he's done a little bit of and the Texas stuff that you mentioned earlier. So it sounds like it's a legitimate pursuit that he certainly wants to make. Did you find that Bills guy?
Yeah, Marquise Goodwin. I was just typing in the chat.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. I thought you were thinking about the track guy. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, more power to him, though. It can't hurt to have the experience. And if anything, we know that Robert Saleh can always default back to his Seattle scheme and stuff. So it'll kind of help having a guy like that in the building that can speak to how you should be able to use your body. I'll be interested if we see Sauce Gardner gravitate to him, right? At least in terms of boosting his turnover piece of his game, because I know that's what everybody ends up kind of nagging on when it comes to trying to find a chink in the armor of Sauce Gardner. But yeah, it's why it'll be the funniest thing if Revis comes back to training camp this offseason and we get to see something in like a Flight 24 breakdown or something for us. But I think it's probably water on the bridge. To your point, the NFL is a brotherhood. Stuff is going to happen. I don't think anybody's digging too deep to where you can't come back from a lot of these things. So it is what it is. It'll probably blow over in a couple weeks. Once training camp kicks off, we'll never think about it again.
In the same length, anything I've ever said about you, DKB, it's all water under the bridge. I just want you to know that straight up as we have you here on the show. We're all groovy now as far as I'm concerned.
100%. 100%. That's
all right. Yeah, I want to ask you real quick because I didn't ask you before the show started. How much time do you have today?
Yeah, I had you for about an hour or so.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, that's normally how long we're on. So, okay, I've opened up the phone lines. That is the pinned message on YouTube. If you'd like to call in and ask DKB a question, because he's not on social. You can't get to him. You can't throw your Twitter beef at him. He's not listening. He can't hear you. So this is the only time where you can perhaps insult him or say something about his coverage skills or something of that nature. Feel free, I guess, to call in. Again, that is the YouTube link pinned to the top. We'll also be talking about the Jets-Patriots game. Tickets and times are running out. Plus, we're going to be doing a special giveaway to see if we can grease the wheels a little bit. More on that here in just a little bit. Let's go to the phone lines. First up, Ricky New York live here on the show, and he'd be a good guy to speak on this as a Florida guy. Florida State guys down there. Makes a lot of sense. Let's bring in Ricky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have to take the side of my Florida State guy on this one. And, I think the problem was not just with Cromartie, but even with Klecko. I think just the fact saying we're the two best Jets defenders ever was the problem, because Revis doesn't want to hear the two. He just wants to hear the one. How dare you hitch your horse to my wagon? It's all about me. That's it. That's, that's where I think the issue lies. And if we're talking about the best corner ever, there's another guy who went to Florida State that I think should be in that conversation. Yeah. So, that's just the way that I look at it. And DK, just real quick, something to bring up DKB's last visit, something kind of strange, after I had called in, whatever, I clicked off, or I thought I clicked off, but I was kind of doing stuff around the room and kind of somewhat listening in the background. And I'm hearing you guys talk. And my wife was like, did that guy just give out his phone number on the internet where everybody can hear it? And I was like, no, shit, I'm still in the green room. So yeah, DKB, if you get a prank call, it's not me. But just to let you guys know, you might want to make sure the green room's cleared before you exchange personal information, because I was hearing that, not intentionally, but at any rate, I didn't know that.
I'll just share it though. Again, DKB told me that his blood type was O negative. He is an organ donor, and I'll give you guys his address here in a little bit. Yeah.
Right on.
You can find my social in the comments. You'll be all right.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Let's just kind of gather it and rally it all together. And by the way, also on the subject of, Revis and Klecko, two best of all time, I'm fine with DKB hooking up his bandwagon over here. It's a great choice. Ride the coattails, baby. There's a lot happening over here. I can appreciate it. No issues here.
Yeah, and you know what? The bottom line is, all these guys were all great players for the Jets. I wish we didn't have these kind of disputes and everything. Yeah. But I gotta take this opportunity to back another one of my guys.
Okay.
Mr. Jake Asman. You want to talk about some good coverage? Jake has got a lockdown all over the place. I think Jake was just doing a fantastic job, had nothing but good things to say. And it's just unfortunate that he finds himself, I don't think he was the instigator or anything like that. It just happens to be that it's his platform where some of these things have started. But dude, Jake's a pro's pro. Jake.
Good for business for Jake Asman. That's what I told him. I texted him yesterday and say, "You lucky bastard." I'm like, phenomenal. Great.
Jake will have a hell of a villain origin story.
That's what I'm saying. Quite frankly, I know Gator recently did an origin story on Jake. I don't remember the villain angle, so hopefully that's a documentary part 2. I don't know.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's funny that some of these things all seem to start there for whatever reason, but. You know what? I guess when you're a big time guy like that, you get the big fish, and that just comes with the territory. So. Anyways, great job, guys. Good job as always, Paul. Good to see you again, DKB.
Yes, sir.
Keep up the good work, and man, looking forward to this year. 2.5 weeks till camp, Paul. Counting them down.
That's right. Hopefully these shows are over by the time training camp gets here, and this is just filling up the time, and then training camp gets here, and we got real football training camp battles and depth chart things to talk about. Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, right on. We can thank Revis for that anyway. The slow news cycle, he's keeping it spicy for us.
God bless you, Revis. Thank you. You're the best. You're the best. Amen. I never questioned it. You were always number one. No doubt.
Right
All
on.
right, I love it. Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate it. And I'll give you one of these on the way. Thank you,
Revis.
Revis.
Sound insane at a stadium.
Say that again.
Said that has to sound insane at a stadium. I gotta get back to the game with the kids.
Well, wait, yeah, DKB. How many Jet games have you been to?
I have actually been to zero. Like I haven't been able to go to a training camp before, an actual game.
What?
Nothing.
What? Why?
Yeah.
What the? Oh yeah, you live like in like Guatemala. Where the hell do you live? Like California?
Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas now.
Vegas,
and,
right? Okay.
When I was in Jersey, my mom wasn't a big football person, so she tried to keep me very, far and clear away from any kind of field and stuff like that. So I always had to love the team from afar. And then when I did have the chance, we ended up, work, kids, the whole nine. So it'll be dope. First game experience should be with both of my sons, and
Okay.
I imagine at this point I'll end up going with some of my fellow YouTubers.
Ooh. Oh well, DKB. Do you have any plans? Go to a Jets game this season, pal?
No, not with the new baby coming. So hopefully the following year.
Oh yeah,
so
due close, right? When's your baby due?
Yeah, end of November.
Oh yeah, mine's 18th. Okay, yeah, so we're right around the same time. So okay, I understand. But if you change your mind, by the way, a shameless plug: Jets Patriots. We got a couple of the YouTubers all gathering, rallying like some sort of Avengers reunion party that'll be happening on week 3, September 19th. Jets Patriots, and guys, you only have till tomorrow morning at 8:30. It's almost 24 hours left to buy your tickets in, and I will give you guys a tease right now. If you've been hovering on the fence, you're not sure whether you are. How about this? If we get enough tickets, and I think it's another 6 or 7 tickets to the Jets game, it's $140 a pop, upper end zone. A tailgate thing we'll worry about later, but that's also a possibility. But just for this, if we get another, I think it's 6 or 7 tickets, I got to see what the latest numbers are in the next 24 hours. We are going to give away field access before the game for Jets Patriots to 3 lucky individuals, 3 of any of the people that have bought tickets to our group where we're all going to be sitting together. 3, can you imagine that? Thursday night football, the atmosphere being on the field before the game, before we go sit in our seats and hanging out for a little bit. Jets Patriots, we have 3 field passes. If we get to the right number, which, like I said, I think is another 6 or 7 tickets. So if you've been on the fence, you're like, boy, I need one more deal to get me over. Well, I got a deal for you. Again, 3 field access tickets to hop on the train. So, guys, make sure you do so. All the info in the description down below. The PayPal Venmo is the same. It's Paul, A, the letter, ESDEN, JR at gmail.com. $140 spot. We need your full name, your email, and because the email is where the Jets will be sending those tickets once all that's official, and then what you're buying. And again, some Jets tickets or tailgate options or whatever. But again, you guys may have a chance to be on the field for that. So again, rally. Get a family, get a friend. I'm trying to rally a few of my family members as well to see if they're heading over. So we will see. So if we get to that number, we'll be giving out and in some sort of a giveaway field access for Jets Patriots. So if that doesn't get you over, I'm not sure what will. Let's go back to the phone lines. We've got Happy here on the show.
Hey, fellas. How you doing, DKB?
How you doing, boss?
Good. I'd like to talk about Revis in comparison to Sauce Gardner. Now, I think Sauce has the potential of actually being probably the best corner the Jets ever had, considering if the injuries are all right. The difference being the character of the person. I think Sauce is more of a team guy, where Revis was more about, it's me, I'm the king of the mountain, knock me off. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely 2 different approaches, right? Because you can definitely make the argument right now, Sauce Gardner's the king of the mountain. He wears his crown different, though, right? This is definitely a Game of Thrones type situation when I look at it. Revis is Targaryen, and then you have, Sauce Gardner that's more of kind of like I forget the little dude's name, right? When he's kind of on his path to being king.
Oh, Joffrey?
Yes. No, not Joffrey. The excuse me. Wasn't he another Targaryen, the little brother?
Little brother Targaryen.
I'm sorry, not Targaryen. He was
Jon Snow. No.
He's one of the ones, the brother and sister that are doing things brothers and sisters can't do.
Oh, Jaime and Cersei. Jaime Lannister?
Yeah,
wow, that's a way to describe that.
A Lannister. Yeah. But yeah, essentially they wear their crowns differently. I do think Sauce Gardner based on what we've seen right now, can definitely go farther than what we've seen with Revis. And having good aura helps you out, right? Ultimately, when you're not kind of being a douchebag about everything. Not to say that's being Revis. Revis, please don't please don't give me any hell. But Sauce Gardner has more of that atmosphere that you want to kind of be around, and he can include people along with him. You hear about how he's such a great teammate. Again, not to say that Revis wasn't, but it just seems like two very clearly different players, and how they've approached the game that both are at the top of their master class for it. So I'm rooting for him.
Me too. And Sauce is actually doing better now. I mean, Revis
early, yes, correct.
Into his career a little bit. I have to give it to Joe Douglas and Salah. I mean, they really emphasized character, and I think that's been the big difference between teams today and our other teams in the past. And it goes a long way. Thanks,
no
guys.
Doubt about it. Yeah,
Peace
thank
out.
you, Hep. I appreciate that. And by the way, new House of Dragon episode tonight at 9:00. I get absolutely no royalties or commission off of that, but since we're on the topic, brand new episode later tonight, live. I believe that's at 9:00. But wow, things I did not have on the bingo card. You know, the brother or sister that don't do things brothers and sisters shouldn't do. Okay, there we go. DKB Game of Thrones fan. GOT. Okay, I prefer the DKB to the GOT right now, but I guess that's neither here nor there. All right, let's go back to the phone lines and let's try to peer pressure this guy DKB, because this is a guy who's been thinking about buying the Jets Patriots tickets, but he's been holding out because he's got a family and a job and all these ridiculous reasons. So let's bring him on. Let's bring on this guy. I've known him as NY Jets FL, but he's trying to get more personal, and his name's Ted. I don't know why I did that in quotes, but that's his name. And that's also 3 letters, just like DKB. Let's bring him on the show. What's up, Ted?
Yeah, number 8139. I'm sorry. Keep trying to get my phone on.
Excellent. Great. I thought there was a credit card number. I was ready. Too bad.
Yeah, I appreciate the guest. Are you coming on at 7:00 Vegas time? 6:00 Vegas time?
Yeah, so I'm looking at 5 in.the morning right now.
Yeah, it's 3 hours back for them, I think. Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on so early. I have a question about. Oh yeah, should I address the ticket thing first, Paul? I have a pending litigation with something happened with my landlord for my firework lot. Let's just say that I was forced off one of my lots after a complaint. And they're saying I'm on county property when I've been on private property for 10 years. So I'm gonna have to sit for a while before I make anything major, purchases. It might be a last minute deal. Yeah, it's just a lot. This is just a lot going on. So Revis, do you think there's a lot of negativity and he feels it regarding the fact that he went to the dark side over there at the Patriots? He's a beloved player, but he's also a hated player for, that's where I see maybe him being bitter. Not everyone will love Revis. There's always an asterisk next to his name.
I don't know Revis. I'm trying to think back if I ever met him. I don't think so. The only thing I can say is I've heard other people that have met him, and they say that he wears the Super Bowl ring and the Patriot stuff like he's been in a not caught, that's a bad word, but like he's been at a grocery store or something, he's in a Patriots hat. I see Jet fans around each other go, ugh, you piece of garbage. Like, okay, you got your Super Bowl, but now you're just really rubbing it in. Like, come on, pal. So it seems like we talked about that villain thing earlier. Like, it seems like he really embraces that, and he likes twisting Jet fans about it, which, like I said, is kind of a dick thing. Like, I don't remember if there's the Hall of Fame speech or there's like Jack and Enshrinement show, whatever, but he like poked at Jet fans saying, that time in New England was awesome. And it just felt like a dick move. So he seems to enjoy that. So I'm not sure if it's some like weird pent up emotions inside him that come back out in this way, but it seems like he really loves twisting Jet fans about it because he's a sicko.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I embrace the most about being a Jets fan is that we have true living rivalries, right? Like there's no team that I can hate more than the Patriots. And it doesn't even always make sense in my head, right? I'm not on the field. I'm not being paid to wear a Jets uniform, none of that kind of stuff. But if I were to see a player I might want to, try to take a little swing or something, right? A little sweep the leg out. All jokes aside, though, I do think internally when you talk about just the passing of the baton from GM to GM, head coach to head coach, players that are coming in and funneling out, guys that are still sticking around like the Nick Mangolds. When you look back on it, you can't help but put Revis to the side because, I mean, I'm glad he got himself a ring. I think all elite players should go and try to find their best opportunity if they can't get it done with their team. But it's just one of those things where you just can't go that way. And then if anything, it's not something that should be a highlight that needs to be, to Boyd Green's point, tossed in our faces. I won't say every chance you get, but it probably shouldn't be the main topic. That's the focal point for you if you're talking about your Jets career and kind of what you've done for us and being the greatest and ultimately in a ring, which isn't his fault. But yeah, it's just not a good look.
I would say this also, that I think it's worth it for Revis, because I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. If you're a Jet, you know the rivalry. We know it as fans. DKB said he it's not like he was paid to be in a Jets uniform. Quite frankly, it's the opposite. We're paying the Jets for our uniforms. I don't know how the hell that happened in the order of things, but the fact of the matter is that it's worth it to Revis because he dipped his toe in the Patriot waters and came out with a Super Bowl ring, so it'll always be worth it for him. The other Jets, David Harris, bleh, New England Patriot, Sean Ellis, New England Patriot, bleh, and those guys didn't win rings, so they will always have that stain on them. And they tried to go get the ring. They never got the ring, and they'll always have that stain on. And maybe it's not worth it because they didn't get the championship glory, but they'll always be looked sideways. All of that long list of Jet players where they had a cup of coffee or multiple years, whatever it was, after their Jets careers, it's always going to be looked at sideways. Differently for Curtis because he started in New England before coming over on the poison pill. But for the most part, if those guys won rings, it's worth it. If they didn't, I think there is a little bit of what you're talking about, Ted, where there's some sort of internal thing here and a little heebie-jeebie mumbo-jumbo.
Paul, speaking of stains, you want to talk about, I was going to drop an F-bomb. The effing Patriots, a bunch of F-ups, okay? Speaking of stains, you got Robert Kraft, happy endings. You got, you got Aaron Hernandez, you got Julian Edelman PEDs, and you got, Belichick dating practically a minor. I mean, you want to talk about an effed up group of guys. So on a ridiculously personal level. So maybe Revis is fitting right in there. I just, maybe the character is not so high in that team. It's all about winning, and you can sweep everything under the rug in that franchise. And what other skeletons will come up later after, things, the ashes are moved, from that smoldering franchise. So that's about all I got today. Appreciate it, fellas.
Yeah, thank you. And good luck with the police. Ricky New York, I just want to make sure we clear this up here. Ricky New York said Davis Harris did get a ring with New England. He absolutely did not. I have it in front of me. He played for the Patriots in 2017. You remember what happened in 2017? The Eagles won their first Super Bowl. So David Harris did not win a ring with New England, nor did Sean Ellis for that matter. So just want to correct you there real quick, Ricky. I love you, pal, but no ring for David Hitman Harris. That did not happen. But no, like I said, I think if I was the guy and I knew what it all meant with Jets Patriots and I went over there, you better win a ring, because I think it's to what you just said, DKB. There's something to players, whether they're your homegrown guys or just in general, we're sports fans, right? Again, this one's going to sound, this might be my last episode of Boyd Green Daily ever, so thanks everybody. But like Dan Marino never winning a ring, he's always going to get the, geez, this super talented guy, but he never got it. Randy Moss, who I think is a dick. I don't like Randy Moss as a human being. He's got a very long track record of doing scummy stuff, and also as a player. But you have to respect the player stuff is what I mean. And he has never won a ring, and people give him crap all the time for that too. So there's a long list of those players, to your point, that you're like, damn, man, they deserved it. Like they were Larry Fitzgerald is a great one off the top of my head. I love Larry. I love what he represents. I love what he's about. And loyalty of staying there in Arizona, never wins a ring. But you're always like, damn, that guy deserves. Barry Sanders. Again, the names will just start flowing out of my brain of guys that do deserve those rings and those opportunities. But So you got to make sure you get it if you do it. But boy, that's still. I have that Darrelle Revis fat head over there in the man cave, and every once in a while I will look at it sideways, but mostly it's all the awesome memories.
Yeah, I remember when we had the draft out here in Vegas. I went with one of my brothers, and I had a Revis jersey with me, and it was the camp that or it was the draft that Jesus, why am I losing it on names today? Yeah. Former Falcons quarterback Mike Vick. Mike Vick happened to be there, so I'm asking him to sign a jersey, and I realize all I have with me is the Revis one. So we have a laugh about it, but he also just kind of looks over and he's like, "Revis is still your guy, huh?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a former cornerback. I love my DBs, man, and I don't have a ton of jerseys I go out there to actively pursue and get, but it's an odd thing. I just, especially on defense, because it seems like when you talk about having a culture, you always see it from the defensive side. It's very rare that I see like just an offensive identity doesn't equate to having an offensive culture, right? Unless you're a team like, Cleveland or something where it's very clear, like that's the ground and pound game. It's still 2003 with them. When you get insulated with guys and you're there, through a second contract, 6-7 years worth, and then you jump ship to the rival team, like, especially after, maybe some failed attempts like we had with the AFC championships, that has to do something to you. I've been on just, citywide basketball teams or something, and I played with guys for, a year or two, and then I see them on the opposite team, and it's, I kind of shoot them a look like, really?
Yeah, 100%. And, by the way, Michael Vick, Jets quarterback legend, of course, for his stay with the New York Jets, baby. How could you possibly forget that? All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. Oh, boy. Why not my father, Esden Zone, here on the show. Father, how are you? What do we have there? I can't, my glasses aren't quite.
Hey now. No,
Sun's out. Very nice. Okay, I see that on the other headline. My glasses were fogging up over here. All right, sun's out. Okay, how you doing, Pop?
I'm doing great. Just wanted to weigh in. And this actually, what I called in for mainly was Revis needs to show the Jets some more respect. And I would tell you that it's clear to me, based on what you said, exactly what you were saying around the Larry Fitzgeralds, the dedicated Barry Sanders, the dedicated to one team players. And I even give a pass to like Joe Namath, Emmitt Smith. They thought they had more in the tank than the team did. Yeah. Right. So, but it's clear that the only reason Revis is throwing smoke about this number one thing, because he really doesn't care about being the number one Jets defender. It's just a title, right? He probably thinks of himself in some instances, because he won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, as a Patriot. If you were a team guy, do you go, just to DKB's point, do you go to your arch enemy? And if you do that, what does that really mean, how you felt about the team all along, right? So Revis was a fine quality cornerback, the best of his era, right? And Gil Brandt, I think, had him a little low at 16, but I didn't make that article up. You can go look it up yourself. And what he probably has more knowledge than any of us or anyone listening is the old school players. There's a lot of old school players in that top 25. But he did change the game. He was important to the Jets' 2 runs at the Super Bowl, ending in the AFC Championship games, and he's due that respect. But how can you disparage? How could you listen to what Klecko said and then have a crappy thing to say about him? Because Klecko was nothing but respectful, and it's completely legitimate. And by the way, he was led that way to say he was in the top 2 Jets defenders of all time. He didn't come up with that. Like, that's, hey, he was led there by the interviewer. And then to throw smoke when he was nothing but nice just shows the kind of petty person that Revis really is. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. Again, I just go back. The Klecko thing that really just hurts me, for lack of another word. I don't really know how else to put it. Is, again, he was led down that path, and Revis told him, I guess, privately in the middle of doing all those media tours that they were doing that, hey, man, we're the best two, and we're going in together. And Klecko, like, he's an older guy that touches his heart because it's all kind of different eras. It's kind of breathing life back, the camaraderie of being in the locker room, and to have one of the greats, a first ballot Hall of Famer, tell you, like, hey, man, it's me. And he's like, oh, man, that's like the coolest thing ever. And then Revis immediately after saying, yeah, I just did that for the nice headline, pal. Know your place, basically. I'm like, well, what a dick.
I mean,
that seems unnecessary.
And even, he smacked Cromartie. He smacked Cromartie so hard that his 15th child felt it.
Oh,
and I mean, there was no reason for that. And it wasn't true. Some of Revis's success that he had with the breakups, they didn't throw his way a lot of the time, but when they did, it was out of due respect to Cromartie and the defensive scheme of Rex Ryan. So let's not pretend if he was on some terrible, I'm trying to think of a terrible defensive coach, and one's not coming to me off the top of my mind, but if he was on a terrible team, right, he wouldn't be in this whatever conversation as a defender, right? If he didn't have the team around him back there in that, the heyday of the late 2000s, right, in 2010. If he didn't have that team, if he didn't have Rex Ryan as a freaking coach, right, we may not even know Revis's name. He might have had a respectable career, but not the one he had. So for him to go after Cromartie and Klecko, no class. That's all I have to say. And the Jets deserve better than that. And, he should be, he's not a young man, right? I don't know how old he is.
37, 38 maybe?
Yeah, right. So he's creeping towards 40. At 40 years old, you figure
38. He turns 39 next week, everybody. So happy early birthday, Darrelle Revis.
Normally, when you approach 40, you figured shit out and you can be a grown-ass man and not be disrespectful, right? 18-year-olds act that way. 22-year-olds act that way. 38, come on, man. So he owes the Jets and the Jets' legacy players more respect. That's what I had to say today.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Pop, for calling in. Appreciate that. And that's what I would say. If you're going to say that to Klecko off stage, then you might as well stick to the script. If you're immediately, the first time anyone brought it up, going to be like, yeah, hey, asshole, you're an old man, I'm number one. Then why even say it in the first place to lead him on to believe that he is or isn't? And by the way, these are all subjective non-titles. Just because Revis said it, just because I tell DKB, me and you are the greatest of all time, it doesn't lead to a trophy or an award or anything. It's just conversation between me and you, which is all it was with Klecko, and he just felt good about it. And for Revis to immediately yank the feel good away from him, just like I said, it's like a kid taking a toy away from another for no reason whatsoever. Man, that one's tough, DKB.
Yeah, it's trash behavior. I seen somebody comment earlier, and it was a really good point. When you have Curtis Martin, for example, right, and he's been with his team for a couple of years, and he comes over, and it's like he fully embraces the Jets. He speaks about the Jets, right? It's not really I'm an Patriots origin guy. It's I'm a Jets for lifer, and I think it just comes down to the personability. We have a lot of characters on our team right now, right? And I look at a guy like Michael Clemens, who on the surface level, you would think even New York Jets fans should hate, right? But we've fallen in love with him from the first interview. We love his demeanor for a guy that's odd socially, for whatever you want to consider odd, right? We've still fully embraced him, right? The FUs to the Cleveland crowd or whoever it was last year and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's something about how Revis comes off, and I think it's more just about him kind of being disingenuous, and maybe it is to Pop's point. He's not truly like a New York Jets, buy-in fan, if you will, even from a player perspective. It's just more so, this is the team that's given me my bag a few times, and it is what it is.
He did say that too, which is very hurtful. Again, he's done this to Jet fans. I can't remember the instances he said it, but I just remember he has. He said something to the effect of, like, I'll be remembered as a Patriot. And he said that and smiled, like, to be a dick. And I'm like, come on, man. That's what? Why, man? The career's over. You don't have to say those things. You don't have to hurt me. That bastard. Anywho, let's get another one in here. And you're damn right, John. Best guest ever, DKB, baby. We got to sign him to a long-term extension, no doubt about it. All right, let's get to another call here. We've got the great Gator, who made this wonderful Boy Green Daily flying, cool, animated background that we have here on the show. Let's go to the legend himself, Gator. Thank you for gracing us, Gator. You're on mute there, pal.
Hey, what do you say, guys? Good morning.
Hey, what's up?
What's happening, Gator?
Good to see you, DK. A lot of people don't know, but he was actually my first show open.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Before I punished Jake Asman with my nonsense, DKB stood out to me as one of the smarter voices on the YouTube platforms for just listening to his insight on things that I had never heard before. So he probably started my fandom as in terms of listening to guys like you. Green Bean was on that train as well, and then eventually found Jake. But kudos to you, DKB. I really enjoy your stuff, man. You got a great
I
voice.
appreciate it.
Wow. Okay. That's high praise. I love it. You love to hear it, baby. Very nice.
Yeah.
There's onions in here, so it's not me. It's
Hey, wait, can I ask you a question real quick, Gator?
Yeah, man.
Who's higher on your star list? Is it DKB or is it Burt Reynolds? Who's higher?
Don't embarrass me right now. Oh, Burt Reynolds is my are we talking living or past?
Living, baby. DKB's number one, right? Oh, there you go. Nice.
I could not put any one of you guys, on a higher pedestal than the other. You all give off your uniqueness and provide us, in the off season and in the regular season with the pain that the Jets bring us Jets fans. It's you guys that we, thank and appreciate for helping us through, because maybe that's why the Jets have so many great voices out there for us on YouTube, because the fans probably need it more than any fan base that's out there.
Yeah.
Waiting for some semblance of positivity, and there just usually isn't. But here we go into another year where the hopes are high, and we all think that things are going to be great. So I just had a quick Revis point, but I also did want to say congrats to your pops for getting a day pass out of the Rogers Derangement Syndrome Institute. It was good to see him. I think you ought to let him know, though, when he does that "Hey Now" thing, that he ought to look up the actor that actually coined that phrase on the Larry Sanders Show and see that his history is a little shady, and he has been canceled by pretty much everybody in Hollywood. So he might want to rethink using that as his calling card as he continues to misalign himself with good and bad people, other than his family, of course.
Yeah,
but his
right.
Rogers takes are utter shit, as we all know. By the way, Revis does continue to disappoint me. He was probably one of my all-time favorites, and he just continues to and I don't know if it's this social media horse shit that that people get wrapped up in, where they're just sitting on the toilet with their phone and they find the need to use their thumbs.
Right.
But he just needs to put it away. Some people just need to get off of social media. It's bad enough that he walks around with a Patriots hat on and he's in the Hall of Fame for being a Jet. Get smart, man. You're ruining your legacy with fans that really adore you and think that you are the greatest thing. And honestly, I think Sauce is right there for the taking, as far as I'm concerned. And I worry about him being injury prone, because I've seen so many times over the last year plus that I felt like he could have not gotten up when I saw him go down. I worry about that with Garrett too. I think those guys have small frames, and I guess that's a question I can throw toward DKB. You say you have that cornerback experience. What is it about Sauce that worries you the most in terms of keeping him healthy and keeping him on the field? Is his small frame going to catch up with him, or is that an advantage to him, playing in that position?
Yeah. So a lot of people praise the attribute of being lanky. It's something that's always been a little concerning for me, just because of the physicality of the game, right? Cornerbacks aren't going to be well versed in hand fighting in the way like a defensive lineman would be, right? Obviously, but I think he does do some things, whether we hate it or love it, to help mitigate that. So From the lanky frame perspective, I'm more so concerned with the lower body, right? There's a lot of times where there's going to be dog piles around him. He needs to come up to stop a run to his side, and you see him kind of lean. He's tackling somewhat with proper form for, I guess, a guy that's 6'3", and probably weighs like a $180 and some change. But I get concerned about when I do see him on the ground. If something falls the wrong way on him, he's going to struggle to get back up and be able to play on that. So I think he does make some business decisions when it does come to plays coming to his side. I know a lot of people talk about him not tackling like a Devon Witherspoon, for example, as another young guy that does make a force there. But he's smart with his footwork. So I think he always just tries to make sure that he can live to play another day, as long as he's not sacrificing touchdowns at the end of the day. So it is going to be a concern. I see the same thing when I watch stuff on Sundays. If there's a play going to his side of the field and it's not a pass, I cringe a little bit, because if he needs to get involved, the complexity of that defense changes without a Sauce Gardner. So I'm hoping he stays healthy, but I do think he plays in the right way, where, not to say he's scared, but he doesn't put himself in situations where he'll get injured by like a freak injury, a freak accident, right? So I try to just shift it to the back of my mind. I don't see him putting himself in anything where it'll cause obvious issues for himself.
Do you see him bulking up at any point? Is there a big disadvantage to that?
No, I think it would be smart for him to try to, because he has one of the frames and just his natural athleticism. Maybe he goes from being like a 4'4" guy to maybe a 4'5", right? If he throws on 5 or 6 pounds. But his technique is so clean, I don't think it honestly matters. If he doesn't ever truly become a cornerback that can be an above average guy in run game defense, then him packing on 10, 15 pounds or so doesn't really matter as part of his game.
And let me see. I just wanted to pull up to see the latest weight for Sauce. So this is what they list on the Jets website, and most of them should have done their physicals back during the OTA. So this should be updated, but sometimes they update it in training camp. He's listed at 6'3", 190. So we'll see if he can get any more of that Brutus beefcake up on there. Yeah.
I think he's like 183 at the combine or something in that range.
Yeah, right. There seems to be incremental growth, as there should be in an NFL strength and conditioning program. But we'll see. With a 6'3" body, you'd think he could get up to that 200 range. You would think with that body to be able to evenly distribute the weight across his frame. But in due
he
time,
could probably max out at like 207 and not see anything crazy. But
right,
having muscle at the cornerback position just for the sake of having muscle isn't as helpful as a lot of people tend to think it would be.
Right on. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. You're awesome. Keep up the great work, and please get us to the start of the regular season healthy.
Yeah, that's it. God bless, and let's
love,
pray. Absolutely. Gator is one of the best in the business. I did not know that. So when I'm at my next Jets trivia pub night and I'm there and they're like, all right, next card here. They're like, Gators first. I'm like, yes, I know this. This was on the show. I'll be able to answer that immediately. We have one more call if you're available here for this DKB.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, here we go. We got one more call here. This is FL Phil 98, who found my podcast on Spotify and said, what the hell is this all about? And he's been calling in the last couple of days, and we love it. And let's hopefully keep that train rolling. Let's bring him in. We got FL Phil 98 here on the show. What's up, brother?
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, DK.
Morning.
So, I was actually painting while I was listening to the show, and I had to jump on, and Gator said something I was going to say. Part of it is the whole social media today, as he very graphically pointed out, sitting on the toilet with nothing better to do. That's definitely part of it. Now, did you guys see the Brady roast?
Yes. Oh, that was awesome. Phenomenal.
Okay. Couldn't stand you.
Right. Well, I didn't particularly like it either. But the point I was going to make about it is there's also not just the social media. We've reached this point where it's like, how big a dick can you be? And it's funny, right? Yeah. So how much can you insult the other guy? How much of an asshole can you be? And it's all supposed to be just all good fun because you're busting each other's balls, right? Mm-hmm. So where is that line between what is one guy busting another guy's balls and what's over the top, you're an asshole, right? Mm-hmm. And as far as like athletes go, there's always been the two camps, right? The guys that, the Barry Sanders, his father said when he scored his first touchdown, act like you've been there before, right?
Yep.
There's always been the class act and the showboat, right? And over the years, the showboat that used to be hated kind of little by little became glorified. We like the showboat as long as he's good, right? But there's a line. Where's that line? I don't know. But
we appreciate you. Let me give a shout out, Mark Gastineau. They just wrote a piece about you, my man, on the Athletic, which I really enjoyed. I guess that could be the line right there. Yeah,
it's so funny because I was going to bring. That was where I was going next. Is now you take these two guys, Joe Klecko and Mark Gastineau. Back in the heyday of the sack exchange, Gastineau was beloved. The fans loved him, right? Klecko was the lunchbox guy who did his job. And nobody really talked about all that much. I mean, he got his credit. He was known as one of the strongest guys in the league. He always had great sack numbers. He was considered, though, the guy on the other end of Gastineau for a while. Mm-hmm. When Gastineau became the asshole, the Brigitte Nielsen, the leaving the team during the strike, all that kind of stuff, he became a hated figure, right? Mm-hmm. So, there's a line. And Revis obviously has crossed that line. Right? That's just like where mine went on the whole thing. The other thing is the social media part of this, the whole aspect. Do you know how many total assholes there were in the past, and nobody knew it, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, Ted Williams was a jerk. Okay, Ty Cobb was a jerk. They just didn't talk about it, and there was no social media.
Or else we would have all known about it. That's funny. That's true. My dad says it all the time. He's like, "Thank God for all the crazy things he did in the 80s." He tells me, "Yep, I'm glad social media and cameras and those things weren't a thing. Like if you're leaving somewhere, that now everyone's a journalist. Everyone's got a camera, which can get caught and sent over to TMZ and God knows what. That was not the case back then. So blessed be he."
Yep. Now, having said that, I do think that Revis went over the line here, and that's between him and Cromartie. It doesn't really matter to anybody else, I don't think.
Right. Yeah.
But what it did show to me was what your dad pointed out. Was that Klecko was pure class. He was honored to even be mentioned as one of the best two. He didn't say that. That was not his opinion. That was something that supposedly was shared with him, and he repeated. And we could go all day about who are the best two, whatever. But Klecko was always a class guy, a modest, humble guy. And he had a lot of problems after his career. Okay. I won't go into any details if people don't know, but he had a lot of problems. There was a guy who was driving a truck after his career, and he stayed humble and he finally got the recognition he deserves. So, good, great for him. And, listen, if Revis has got to do this, if that's what makes him who he is, he's the guy who's suffering in public opinion.
I love that. That's a good way to put it. Phil, thank you so much for hopping on with us, brother.
Thank you very much, Paul. As always, I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right, back to painting for you, good sir. That house won't do itself. DKB, I want to thank you for hopping back on the show. This is something I'll have to check in and do as often as I possibly can because it's sort of to what Phil was saying, like you're the class act, I'm the showboat. I'm screaming all the time, and all kinds of expletives, and you're just a business-oriented guy. You bring your briefcase, you do your business, and you head on out. What a guy.
I love it. No, I appreciate the invite. Have you played football before?
I did. I played running back. And corner too. So yeah.
Did you have a certain celebration?
Oh yeah, I was not. I will be very clear. I was not Barry Sanders of hand the ball. I'd be like hand the ball to the ref and a little booyah. Oh yeah, I was complete showboat asshole. Like guys, T.O., Ocho Cinco, Steve Smith, the baby, all that I used to love, and I'm like, oh, that's great ideas. Let me see if I could come up with something different. Now those could lead to flags and all kinds of things, and those that hurt the team, and then you'd like lose for a dumb decision. But yeah, I was definitely a pro showboat guy. There's no doubt about it.
I love you saying briefcase, and it reminded me of mine when we got to score a pick six or something. And it was literally just me straightening up a tie with my briefcase and walking out of the end zone.
That's great. I love that. I love that. See, that's classy. That's classic. That's nice. Doing the Key and Peele pelvic thrust of the boom, boom, boom. And they're like, yeah, you can only do three pelvic thrusts. Flag. So see, that was me. Yeah, I definitely. Where's that line again? Oh, there it is. Paul crossed it. Yep, that was it. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Yeah, glad to join the show whenever I can find the time to get it done. Is awesome. Fan base is obviously great. Seeing a lot of these new faces. Funny, I was trying to get with Gator before, so it's finally nice to put a face to the name.
Yeah, he's great. He has looking him up. He's got a link tree somewhere where always different stuff that you guys can grab him and reach out to him again. Hopefully to do cool stuff like this, or just to give him his proper flowers. Gator does not get the love that he deserves in the Jets community. Even more so, like he needs more because of how awesome he absolutely is. And my father said he was yelling from the stands watching those football games, saying, "Act like you've been there before." And also he said other words like "you bastard" and other things of that nature, but. I don't think that made it on there, interestingly enough. All right, well, DKB, I've held you more than long enough for your time, so I want to thank you again. Thanks, brother. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right,
have a good night, everybody.
There he is. Oh, actually, before I send you over, yeah, that's right, because you've been up for the entire time. Plug people on your channel real quick before you head out.
Yeah, so that it's not a joke. I actually don't really do socials, so you can just find me on YouTube, DKBX Jets. Normally drop videos more so than I do any streaming stuff, but you'll see that on occasion as well. So I appreciate it, Paul.
Yeah, again, no social media. That is not a joke. He is not on social media. Maybe he could explain one day why he isn't, but I think if we watch today's episode, that's why he isn't. But that's neither here nor there. I won't speak for it. DKB, thanks, brother. Okay, beautiful. And I will just stay on just for a few more minutes. I didn't want to hold DKB for this, but he was awesome. For Jets Patriots, which again is coming up. Guys, we have essentially 24 hours. Today is Sunday, July 7th. It's 8:46 a.m. If you want to go to Jets Patriots, and I've been getting tickets as late as last night as they were coming in. So tickets are still coming in, and I love it. Let's go. I want to meet as many of you as possible. Tickets are $140 a pop. Upper end zone. If you want to join us, the cutoff is tomorrow morning, baby. And look, there you go. DKB throwing that in there, baby. Get your Sunday ticket payouts and buy your tickets for Paul. So shout out to DKB. By the way, that's his logo and that's his channel. You can follow it from there. That is his channel there. So feel free to do so. But again, baby, guys, make sure you hop on and you get your stuff together here, people. It's $140 a pop. The cutoff is Monday. After the Boy Green Daily and a few minutes after, the doors are shut and you will no longer be allowed to sit with us for Jets Patriots. And like I said, just to sweeten the pot, just a little bit more here on the program. If we get enough tickets, which like I said, I think it's six or seven more. Okay, but there's a lot of people that are on the fence. We are going to be giving away 3 field passes to the group that bought tickets. So it's going to be a group of 20, 25 people. We'll pick 3 of the 25. I like the math on that if I were you, to get a good chance to be on the field for what should be an awesome game, again, of New York Jets, New England Patriots Week 3. Again, all my details are down below for PayPal and Venmo. It's Paul, ESDENJR@gmail.com. That's how you pay. Again, I need your first to last name. I need your email because that's where the Jets are going to send their tickets. And then all the details. Are you buying 2 tickets, 3 tickets, 1 ticket? What are you buying? Make sure you're very descriptive in your message because I want to make sure the money goes in the correct pile. Because like I said, we also have a tailgate package, which is all you can eat, all you can drink for 4 hours before the game. That's a separate thing for $65. And that deadline isn't until August, but our ticket deadline is tomorrow. So time is absolutely running out. But if you have any questions, several people have done this. That same email I've been giving you, which is how you can pay me on PayPal and Venmo, is how you can ask additional questions if you want to ask something about the ticket location or any of that jazz. Again, Paul, ESDENJR@gmail.com. Again, guys, make sure you send that my way. And let's go. Let's get as many of you people as possible to New York Jets, New England Patriots. And hopefully I'm getting a few more notifications on the phone for people buying those last-second tickets. We'll make one final push tomorrow morning on Boy Green Daily. All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care.